My voice echoed, "What do you mean, Ryan? We'll be CEO? I'm the one who saved this hotel." The newly renovated lobby amplified the sound. The modern, mountain-inspired decor, perfected over months, seemed to mock me. Mom's dismissive wave stung like a slap. "Claire, honey," she said, as if speaking to a child, "your brother possesses more natural leadership. You're too deep." Just then, Ryan sauntered in, hands in pockets, wearing that smug smile I'd known since childhood. "Hey sis, don't take it personally," he said. "Someone has to handle the day-to-day while I focus on the bigger picture. I'm Claire Anderson, and at 52, I never imagined fighting for recognition within my own family's business. After a successful 20-year career in Chicago hotel management, I'd relinquished everything to return home to Colorado and our struggling family hotel. The irony! I was the only one with genuine hospitality experience, while my younger brother, Ryan, had job hopped for years, never lasting more than 12 months in any role. Here's what truly gets to me. 8 months prior, my dad had called distraught, claiming they were mere weeks from bankruptcy. Without hesitation, I sold my Chicago condo, cashed in my savings, and returned to assist. The hotel was trapped in a time warp, dated decor, no social media presence, and reviews that made me cringe. I labored day and night, modernizing everything, from the reservation system to the lobby furniture. God knows how many nights I spent hunched over spreadsheets, negotiating with suppliers and training staff. I even leveraged my industry connections to secure features in travel magazines, and it was effective. The transformation was incredible. Mountain Pine Lodge evolved from a 2-star nightmare into the talk of the town. Bookings doubled, and for the first time in years, we were actually profitable. Every detail, from the locally sourced artwork to the upgraded amenities, was carefully curated to create an unforgettable guest experience. But standing there, watching Ryan smirk as our parents handed him everything I'd built, I realized none of that mattered to them. The worst part, they planned to announce his promotion at tonight's staff meeting, the very meeting where I was scheduled to present our record-breaking quarterly results. I could feel the eyes of our employees on me, especially Sarah, our head housekeeper, a 20-year veteran. They all knew who had truly turned this place around, but like me, they were forced to stand by and watch this charade unfold, pretending it was somehow normal or fair. To understand how we arrived at this point, let me take you back. Mountain Pine Lodge had been in our family since my grandparents built it in 1971. I essentially grew up within these walls, learning every facet of the business from the ground up. While other kids played house, I was assisting Mom with check-ins and observing Dad handle maintenance issues. The hotel was my second home, and I cherished every moment. But Ryan, he was different. 3 years, my junior. He never expressed interest in the family business. While I was studying hospitality management in college, he was switching majors, first architecture, then business, ultimately dropping out altogether to find himself. Mom and Dad never seemed bothered by this. He's just creative. They'd say he needs time to figure things out. Meanwhile, I was building my career in Chicago, working my way up from front desk manager to regional director for a major hotel chain. Every success was met with lukewarm congratulations from my family. "That's nice, dear, But when are you coming home? When are you getting married? It was never enough. When Dad called about the hotel's financial woes, I knew precisely what needed to be done. The place was hemorrhaging money, outdated systems, inefficient processes, no real marketing strategy. The online reviews were brutal, stuck in the past, needs major updating, not worth the price. It broke my heart to witness my family's legacy crumbling. I took a leave of absence from my Chicago job, which eventually became a resignation, and dove into the rescue mission. The initial month was solely damage control, repairing broken equipment, updating the booking system, and training staff on basic customer service. I tapped into my savings to replace the ancient carpeting and give the lobby a facelift. Every penny spent was meticulously calculated to maximize return on investment. What truly irks me is that Ryan was absent during all of this. He was off in Denver, supposedly networking, but really just partying with friends. He'd occasionally appear for family dinners, offer a few vague suggestions about modernizing our approach, and then vanish again. Yet somehow, in my parents' eyes, his sporadic input held equal value to my daily grind. I continually told myself it would be worthwhile, that once they witnessed the results, the improved ratings, the increased bookings, the positive reviews, they'd finally acknowledge my worth. I suppose I should have known better. The past 3 weeks have been a complete nightmare. Ryan struts around as if he owns the place, implementing changes left and right without any comprehension of hotel operations. Just yesterday, he decided to eliminate our continental breakfast service to save money, seemingly oblivious to the fact that our breakfast ratings are a major selling point. When I attempted to show him the guests' satisfaction data, he simply laughed and said, "Numbers aren't everything, sis." But what truly pushed me over the edge occurred this morning. I walked in to find him firing Maureen, our head of housekeeping, a 15-year employee. His rationale: she wasn't flexible regarding his new scheduling system. A system that would have left us dangerously understaffed during peak checkout times. I managed to intervene and save her job, but the look of humiliation on her face will long haunt me. I attempted to discuss it with Mom and Dad, presenting spreadsheets showcasing our progress, guest reviews praising our recent improvements, and even financial projections for the next quarter. Dad merely stared at his coffee, while Mom patted my hand and said, "Dear, you need to give your brother time to find his footing. He has such wonderful ideas." Asterisk, that's when I noticed it, the for sale sign on the old Riverside Lodge. Driving home, it struck me our main competitor for years now in disrepair after last season. I pulled into the parking lot, my mind racing. The property possessed so much potential, better views than our hotel, closer proximity to the ski slopes, and a significantly larger spa area. Certainly, it needed work, but I knew exactly what to do with it. I sat in my car for nearly an hour, contemplating every instance my parents had overlooked me in favor of Ryan. Every achievement dismissed, every suggestion second-guessed, every contribution minimized. Something within me snapped, or perhaps it finally clicked. I called my realtor right there in the parking lot. The owners were eager to sell, and thanks to my savings and stellar credit rating, I could make it happen. By the time I drove home, I had already scheduled a viewing for the following morning. For the first time in months, I felt energized, even excited. I wouldn't have to watch Ryan dismantle everything I'd built. Instead, I would construct something new, something entirely mine. I'd let them see what they relinquished when they chose. Him over me. Asterisk. The ensuing months were a whirlwind of activity. I poured everything into transforming the Riverside Lodge into something extraordinary. While Ryan was busy throwing parties at Mountain Pine Lodge, I was collaborating with contractors, redesigning spaces, and assembling a team of top-tier hospitality professionals. I named it The Summit, perhaps a bit on the nose, but I wanted everyone to know precisely what I was aiming for. Word spread quickly around town. Some labeled me spiteful for competing with my own family. Others, particularly those who'd worked with me at Mountain Pine, quietly cheered me on. My parents attempted to guilt trip me initially. How could you do this to your brother, to us? Mom would ask during our increasingly infrequent family dinners. I simply smiled and changed the subject. Meanwhile, Ryan's mismanagement was taking a toll on Mountain Pine Lodge. Reviews began to decline. Complaints about inconsistent service, maintenance issues, and even cleanliness problems surfaced. 3 longtime staff members resigned within his first month as leader. I overheard through the grapevine that they'd been forced to slash rates just to maintain occupancy. The summit's grand opening occurred exactly 6 months after that fateful day in the lobby. I'll never forget the expressions on my family's faces as they walked in. Mom's tight smile barely concealed her shock. Dad's eyes widened as he took in the packed house, and Ryan's anger was barely concealed. The local paper was present, capturing photos and interviewing guests about Aspen's newest luxury destination. "You're trying to destroy us," Ryan hissed, cornering me by the bar. "This is a direct attack on our family." I simply smiled and replied, "No, Ryan. This is me succeeding despite our family." The contrast between the two hotels couldn't have been more stark. While Mountain Pine Lodge struggled with basic upkeep, the Summit was generating buzz with its eco-friendly initiatives and luxury amenities. Every detail I had dreamed of implementing at the family hotel but had been rejected was now a reality. Here, from the locally sourced restaurant menu to the state-of-the-art spa facilities, everything was precisely as I'd envisioned, but success brought its own set of challenges. Other hotels began to copy our innovative booking system. Some townspeople, old friends of my parents, started whispering about how I was tearing the family apart. Even some of my loyal guests from Mountain Pine Lodge expressed guilt about choosing sides. The real challenges began as the summit gained traction. My former vendors from Mountain Pine Lodge started facing pressure not to work with me. Mom wielded considerable social influence in town, and suddenly some longtime family friends stopped meeting me for our usual coffee dates. I even lost my position on the local tourism board. Apparently, there was a conflict of interest, but I refused to allow small-town politics to derail everything I'd built. When local vendors hesitated, I found better ones in Denver. When the tourism board dismissed me, I focused on cultivating direct relationships with ski tours operators. Every obstacle only fueled my determination to be more innovative. Then came the ultimate test. Mom and Dad appeared at my office one morning. Looking worried. The bank was threatening to call in Mountain Pines loans. Ryan's mismanagement had finally caught up with them. They wanted me to return, not as CEO, of course, but to assist Ryan in learning the ropes. We're family, Mom pleaded. You can't simply let the hotel fail. I observed them both, seated across from my desk in the office I had built myself, and felt strangely composed. I offered to help 8 months ago. I responded, You chose Ryan. Now you must live with that choice. Dad attempted a different tactic. Think about your grandfather's legacy, he said quietly. This hotel has been in our family for generations, and I attempted to preserve that legacy. You're the ones who entrusted it to someone who treats it like his personal playground. After that, the whispers around town intensified. I was labeled the ungrateful daughter, the bitter sister, the woman who would turn against her own family out of spite. Some days, those rumors stung more than I cared to admit. But each morning, I would enter the summit's lobby, witness my vision come to life, and know that I had made the correct decision. My team had become my new family. Many were former Mountain Pine employees who had abandoned ship, tired of Ryan's chaotic leadership. They understood that what I was building here wasn't about revenge. It was about creating something meaningful, something we could all take pride in. The breaking point arrived during the annual Colorado Luxury Hotels Awards. The summit was nominated for Best New Boutique Hotel, while Mountain Pine Lodge was conspicuously absent from every category. I sat in the ballroom, surrounded by my team, when they announced our win. As I ascended to the stage, I caught sight of my parents in the back of the room. They had arrived unannounced, likely expecting to support our family hotel as they had for years. The look on their faces conveyed everything. Mom was fighting back tears, and Dad appeared to have aged a decade. Ryan was absent. He had ceased attending industry events months prior, claiming they were merely popularity contests. But everyone in that room recognized the significance of this moment. The student had officially surpassed the teacher. The deep daughter had built something superior to the family legacy they had refused to entrust her with. During my acceptance speech, I thanked my team, our guests, and even mentioned Mountain Pine Lodge, where I had first discovered my passion for hospitality. The crowd's uneasy shifting indicated they understood my subtle jab. However, it was the conversation afterward that truly changed everything. A renowned travel magazine editor approached me for an interview. As we discussed the summit's success, my parents hovered nearby, clearly listening. They absorbed every word as I recounted my journey, including how being passed over for CEO had motivated me to build something of my own. Sometimes, I said, ensuring they could hear the best success stories emerge from being underestimated. That evening, the magazine editor informed me that they would be naming the summit the best boutique hotel in the Rockies in their upcoming issue. The same issue would feature a piece on traditional hotels struggling to adapt, with Mountain Pine Lodge as their prime example. When the article was published, it created a sensation in our small town. Everyone who had whispered about me being spiteful was forced to acknowledge the truth. I had built something extraordinary, while Mountain Pine Lodge was failing, not because of me, but because of their own flawed decisions. Asterisk, looking back, A mix of emotions is hard to avoid. A part of me still feels the sting of my parents' treatment, how they dismissed everything I had accomplished as if it were insignificant. Yet, another part of me, perhaps the larger part, feels liberated. I am living my life on my own terms, no longer seeking external validation. Each morning, as I enter the summit's lobby, I am reminded of what I constructed with my own two hands. The vibrant lobby buzzes with activity, guests excitedly discussing their plans for the day, staff efficiently providing warm smiles and expert service, the subtle aroma of freshly brewed coffee mingling with the crisp mountain air that drifts in when the doors open. It is everything I had ever envisioned Mountain Pine Lodge being, and witnessing its success fills me with profound pride. My team at the summit has become my family in ways I never anticipated. Many, like Sarah and Maria, are former employees of my parents' hotel who left due to the same lack of leadership I recognized. They have been instrumental in the summit's success, and their loyalty humbles me. Sarah often jokes that she finally feels like her experience and ideas are valued, and I understand precisely how she feels. Outside of work, I have begun reconnecting with old friends. For years, I was so consumed with trying to prove myself to my parents that I neglected important relationships. Now, I am making time for coffee dates and hikes, rebuilding those connections. Some people from town who initially criticized my decision to compete with my family have even changed their tune, admitting they admire what I have accomplished. I have also begun to rediscover my place within the community. Hosting events at the summit has helped me reestablish old bonds and forge new ones. Just last month, we held a fundraiser for the local animal shelter in our new event space, and it was a resounding success. Witnessing people unite for a worthy cause reminded me why I initially wanted to work in hospitality, to create spaces that bring people joy and comfort. But it is not all perfect. There are moments, particularly on quiet evenings, when I think about my parents and Ryan. As much as they have hurt me, I wish things could be different. I have caught myself wondering if they have ever truly understood the sacrifices I made to save our family's legacy. Still, I have come to the realization that their approval is no longer a necessity. My success, my happiness, they are mine, and no one can diminish them. For so long, I existed in the shadow of their expectations, but now I am finally standing in my own light. Approximately 3 weeks after the Colorado Luxury Hotels Awards, my parents finally reached out again. They invited me to dinner, just the three of us. I hesitated briefly, but decided to accept. I wanted to hear what they had to say, even though I wasn't expecting a genuine apology. Upon arriving at their house, the atmosphere was different. My mom greeted me with a nervous smile, and my dad avoided eye contact, fidgeting with his watch, as he always did when over dinner. They engaged in small talk, the unusually warm weather for the season, the summit's latest review. I sensed they were building up to something. Finally, my dad cleared his throat and said, "Claire, we wanted to say we're proud of what you've accomplished." My mom quickly added, "We know we haven't always shown it, but we do recognize how much work you've put in. The summit is remarkable." I wanted to feel pleased by their words, but they rang hollow, feeling like too little, too late, especially after years of being dismissed. Instead, I simply nodded and waited for what I knew was Coming next. Predictably, my mom launched into it. Ryan's been struggling. The hotel isn't doing well, and he's in over his head. We were wondering if you could perhaps guide him, help us get things back on track. For a moment, I remained silent, allowing their words to hang in the air as I observed both of them. Truly observed them? My mom, with her meticulously manicured nails, gripping her wine glass a bit too tightly, and my dad, who seemed to be studying the tablecloth as if it held the answers to all their problems. I offered to help a year ago. I finally stated, my voice calm but firm. I relinquished my life in Chicago to save Mountain Pine Lodge. You chose to place Ryan in charge, knowing he wasn't ready, knowing I possessed the experience to make it succeed. You didn't want my leadership then, and now that things have fallen apart, you're asking me to step in. I'm sorry, but I cannot do that. My mom began to protest, but I raised a hand to silence her. I will offer advice if you desire it. I can recommend strategies, suppliers, even training programs for the staff, but I am not returning to fix what Ryan has broken. That is no longer my responsibility. They were speechless. My dad finally mumbled something about understanding my position, but the disappointment on his face was evident. My mom appeared as though she wanted to argue further, but for once, she refrained, driving home that night. I felt lighter than I had in years. Establishing those boundaries was not easy, but it was essential. I was no longer bending over backward to please my parents or cleaning up Ryan's messes. I was choosing myself, my happiness, and my future. Over the ensuing weeks, I noticed a change in how I carried myself. Saying no to my parents emboldened me to enforce boundaries in other areas of my life as well. I ceased over-explaining my decisions to others, whether regarding work or personal matters. I grew more comfortable severing ties with relationships that no longer served me, instead focusing on those that brought me joy and support. At the summit, we achieved new milestones. Our occupancy rates were the highest in the region, and we began receiving inquiries from other boutique hotel owners seeking consulting advice. Meanwhile, my parents' hotel continued its decline, although I did hear they had finally hired a professional hospitality consultant in an attempt to turn things around. Ryan and I rarely spoke, and I was content with that. He offered neither apology nor acknowledgement of what had transpired, but I no longer required it. His bitterness was his burden to bear, not mine. The summit had become a reflection of everything I had strived for. My resilience, my vision, my independence, and as it flourished, so did I. Standing in the summit's lobby one morning, I observed the sunlight streaming through the floor-to-ceiling windows, casting a warm glow over the modern decor I had designed. A family strolled past, laughing as they discussed their plans for the day, while one of my staff expertly presented a couple with their itinerary for a scenic snowshoe hike. It struck me at that moment how far I had progressed, not just professionally, but personally as well. For years, I had measured my worth by my parents' approval, by their ability to see and acknowledge my contributions. But now, I realized I no longer required that. What I had built here was not merely a hotel, it was a testament to my resilience, my creativity, and my ability to thrive despite the challenges that had been thrown my way. The journey had been arduous. Releasing the hope that my family would change was painful, but it also liberated me. I no longer felt tethered to the weight of their expectations or their disapproval. Instead, I felt proud of what I had created, proud of the team I had cultivated, and proud of the life I was living. I was not merely surviving, I was thriving. The Regional Hospitality Awards ceremony was the kind of event I used to dream of attending. The room buzzed with excitement, filled with industry leaders, journalists, and hotel owners from across the state. As the announcer began to list the nominees for Boutique Hotel of the Year, I caught a glimpse of my mom and dad seated toward the back of the room. Their faces were unreadable, but I could sense the weight of what this moment signified for all of us. When the summit was announced as the winner, the room erupted in applause. My team cheered as I walked to the stage, my heart pounding as I accepted the award. I glanced at my parents. My dad offered a slight nod, and my mom's eyes glistened with unshed tears. It wasn't quite an apology, but it was acknowledgement, something I had long since ceased expecting, but still appreciated in its own way. Following the ceremony, I joined my team in celebration. My parents did not approach me, nor did I approach them. This was my moment, and I wanted to share it with the people who had helped me achieve it. I felt truly free from the need for their approval, free from the shadows of their choices. Success was no longer about proving them wrong. It was about proving to myself that I was capable, deserving, and enough. And as I raised a glass with my team that night, I knew I had finally found peace